we asked each of the alum to put 2 slides together and to introduce themselves and give about 3 to 5 to 6 minute conversation with you about how their public mental health training has influenced the ability they have today to impact public mental health.
My name's Howard Chilcoat, and I was a student in the department in the late 1980s and into the early 1990s, and so I graduated in '92. I also did a joint master's degree in biostatistics in MHS while I was here. Jim was my advisor, and blinded by the light here, and a lot of my professors are here, so it's great to be here with everybody. And I have to say that I think the department is, kind of a home base for me in terms of, probably one of the best experiences I've had in terms of finding an intellectual home. I was, prior to being in school, I was doing a lot of different things. I had been a VISTA volunteer in Oklahoma doing community organizing, worked as a chemist at a sewage treatment plant for a year, taught at school for kids with learning disabilities, and I was doing that. I saw these problems that kids were having and issues, and I was like trying to figure out, and also I was working as an doing assessments for kids that were at risk of being removed from the home for juvenile delinquency, and so and you could see these patterns emerging when you look at these kids' histories, and it's like, what do you do about this? And I was trying to figure out what to do with my life, and I heard there was a good school of public health. And I was living in Baltimore, and I think, I think the school of public health, I don't know exactly what it is, but I should look into it. And ended up getting in the department, and it was just a great experience, to have people from all over the world to be able to interact with, and great teachers. And I think one of the stories was, one of the things that the school really prepared me for, and a focus, was in the quantitative area. I think Jim was pushing me to go do a master's in biostats. I talked to Scott Zieger about it, and he said, well, if you don't have a really clinical background, having a strong background methodologically in the quantitative area is really a useful thing to have, and that was certainly true. So that's helped me in my career. So I think, I spent my career working at first in the National Institute on Drug Abuse as doing work in the etiology branch, so understanding progression to psychiatric disorders. Did work with parent monitoring, trying to understand the role of parenting in early drug use as a potential target for intervention. And then working in the area of, with Naomi Breslow at Henry Ford Hospital, working on sort of the progression of a variety of psychiatric disorders, post-traumatic stress disorder and substance use disorder, coming back to the department as a faculty member in early 2006 with a stint as the chief of epidemiology at NIDA. But then it took a turn, a little bit different turn, decided to go into industry and working in the area of first working with GlaxoSmithKline. And there was an opportunity to work on drugs to treat addiction and some other psychiatric disorders. And so I didn't know anything about drug development, but the Glaxo had a really a great program for epidemiology, so the program that I had from School of Public Health, the training, really helped me look for ways that you could apply epidemiology to inform all stages of drug development, including clinical trial development, working with genetic data, and so take advantage of the resources that you had in an industry setting and working with teams to develop these drugs. Unfortunately, the area of psychiatry is a very challenging area for drug development. Glaxo has stopped development in the field of psychiatry. And I ended up moving on to Purdue Pharma, working in the development of drugs for opioid use, opioids that have abuse deterrent formulations that make, so in a sense of a public health intervention to change a product that that can be manipulated, for the purpose of abuse to make it more difficult to abuse, and studying the impact of that on abuse in the population, and as well as dealing with issues now with the problems related to the use of opioids, because this has grown as a major, huge public health problem. You have to balance. One of the challenges is balancing the issues with patients who have pain, long-term chronic pain, trying to understand their needs, making sure that they're not stigmatized in terms of getting drugs, but also reducing the harm that's due to the availability of these drugs for people that aren't patients that are seeking these drugs, as well as patients, understanding the risk in patients who may who use these drugs. So the School of Public Health was, and the Department of Mental Health was just an incredible experience that provided opportunities and mentorship that I've had from all my faculty, opened the doors in terms of career opportunities, and I hope you'll be able to share that with some of the students that I had when I was here. So anyway, so I don't know what else to tell you. And this is this picture I have up here because if I had any of the talent that little guy and my son has next to me, I probably wouldn't be here because I'd be playing music. But because I don't have much talent, I had to find something else to do.